So another week of Tigers baseball come and gone. Of course, it's a big rivalry week because this week it was all Detroit versus Chicago, aka Chitoilet. As Detroit had to face not one, but two Chitoilet teams this week. The first of those two series being the first crack against the White Sox. The second crack this year against the White Sox. Of course, earlier this year, the Tigers swept the White Sox 2 months ago. And the White Sox are still total diarrhea since that opening series. Still not as bad as the Rockies, but still total diarrhea. But of course, this series, though, this is the one time, this has been one of the rare times this season where the White Sox chose not to be complete diarrhea. As they chose to instead be a massive pain in Detroit's ass. Here's how the series went. Tigers win one game. White Sox win the other game. Tigers win another game. White Sox win the last game. Opposite of nice. And the series ends 2-2 on a 4-game set. Which means, well, here's the good news and the bad news from it. The good news, the Tigers didn't 100% lose this series. The bad news, they didn't win it either. It ends up being the worst possible outcome to have for a series. The series ended in a split, which means the Tigers-White Sox series this week ended in a tie.
Tie game?
What the hell? This is outrageous.
I've never been so proud of them.
They're both losers! Losers!
Rip off! We paid for blood!
Let's tear this place apart!
Good idea! Ah!
And let's clear the air real quick. A tie is effectively a loss because neither team won. Both teams lost this series. Like, honestly, this was a frustrating series. Like, honestly, both teams were so fucking bad in this series that neither of them deserved to win this series. That's just how inconsistent the Tigers were in this series. And you can't say, oh, well, there are some teams who match up with. I mean, no, you can't say that shit because the Tigers already swept their ass 2 months ago. And usually the Tigers have historically owned the White Sox and made the White Sox Detroit's bitch. But I guess today was a bad time to tell the White Sox that they aren't Detroit's bitch in a tie. The worst possible outcome. Nothing is solved in the series. 2-2. Don't worry, we'll have another crack at the White Sox later this year where hopefully that's time the Tigers will actually have a winner later on this year. But out of that frustration, then comes the other series at home against the Cubs. A 3-game set. And also potentially to do Dashy and the Reds some favors to try and St. Louis some favors in that fucking crapshoot called the NL Central. And also, it's the top 2 teams in baseball. Honestly, how in the fuck are the White Sox near us in the standings? Can that other Chicago team, just fuck off, please? And this series was when Judah Tribe and the Cubs decided to be Detroit's pain in the ass. We win 1 game. And in the first game we won, it was Tariq Skubal once again doing Tariq Skubal things. And proving why he's the best fucking pitcher in baseball right now. The fact that Chris Ilitch hasn't gave him a long-term extension yet is fucking criminal. And it needs to fucking happen before all of us go to Detroit and put our foot up fucking Chris Ilitch's ass for being a cheap prick again. Alright, bad enough we have to deal with this shit with the Red Wings. But anyway, back on topic. We win 1 game. Cubs win the 2nd game. 3rd game, not this time. We win the 3rd game in a shutout and win the series over the White Sox the Cubs taking 2 out of 3. Fuck, I wish it was the White Sox, god damn it. But we went 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. Nice. Wish we could have fucking done this shit against the fucking White Sox. God damn it. But yeah, this is how ass-backward Detroit versus Chicago was this week. Detroit this week beat the fucking better Chicago team, but's tied against the shitty team. How does that fucking work? God damn it. Like honestly, I'll say this: if people want to call the Cubs frauds after losing 2 out of 3 to the Tigers, They might be calling the Tigers frauds too while they're at it for splitting a series with the fucking White Sox, one of the worst teams in baseball. Second worst because the Rockies are fucking worse than the White Sox. And that's the fucking White Sox. The White Sox. A team that's been so fucking irrelevant for how many fucking years? Hell, they're so irrelevant, their loss record from last year might get fucking broken this year by the Rockies. Because of how dog shit the Rockies have been this year. And also, like the White Sox last year, the Rockies can't pick higher than 10th in the draft due to the draft lottery rules. So yeah, like the White Sox last year, those fuckers can't even tank right. Oof. But yeah, just, it's a frustrating up and down mixed bag week. We tie / lose to the White Sox in a split. But we beat the better Chicago team and added fuel to everyone in the NL Central's fire for all their ammo about how the White Sox are frauds because they can't beat good teams, but they beat up on bad teams. Yet, here's the funny thing. You can call the Cubs frauds all you want, NL Central fans. Here's the sad reality. They're still a better team than the White Sox. That's for fucking sure. But they ain't better than the Tigers, as the Tigers continue their run at the head of the table, as they continue their pursuit to net, because after the White Sox series, they did become the first team to win 40 games this year. Now the Tigers continue their roll up, as the Tigers are now looking to become the first team this year to win 50 games. As the Tigers continue to get back hot again, because they got a little bit cooled off with that shit against the White Sox, but they got that fire back against the Cubs. As after the Cubs, the Tigers are getting hot again. And I don't think it's just the heat from the summer temperatures. I think it's actually the team getting hot as well. Might be the temps, might be the team itself. You do the math. Anyway, that's another week of Tigers baseball. I'm out.